Look out, y'all. Ashy Knuckles in the building. Shoot, let's get it going on, man. This is a post-fight thoughts, talking about the fights from last night. Everybody's still probably in disbelief in terms of what they saw in the main event with Vasyl Lomenchenko versus Guillermo Rigondeaux. And in that fight, we would see one of the great fighters of this era quit after he was basically manhandled by Vasyl Lomachenko. Looked like man versus boy in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? And that's just keeping it 100. You know what I'm saying? Now, initially, I called this fight to be a stoppage victory. But then I started thinking, and right before I made my last video, I started thinking, and I was like, you know what? I think maybe Guillermo Rigondeaux is savvy enough and has enough experience and seen enough styles to where he will at least go the distance. But I still called it a loss for him. So, to me, this is not a prediction where one needs to pat themselves on the back if they get it right. I mean, just being around the sport for a while, seeing so many great fighters in great eras, he was already on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, it was still intriguing when you look at the storylines, when you look at the history of these guys, when you look at their Olympic and amateur pedigree, all the various world championships that they won. And when you look at their various professional careers, how they basically both were on the fast track when turning pro. And Vasyl being on the faster of the fast tracks and also being a young guy. So, you know, there'll actually be more to gain in watching his ascent in the world of boxing, because there will be more to offer there because he's younger and this is a young man's game. And he's he's a great fighter. So, you know, I can't wait to see more of this guy. He's a dog, you know, and my opinion of him didn't change after this fight. It was the same as it was prior to this fight. I know what I'm looking at. He's a fucking dog up in there, you know? So in the fight, I mean, in the fight, it went basically the way I thought it would go, except for Rigondeaux quitting. I knew Lomachenko would get his fight game going, you know, and the only way he could possibly lose this fight is if he got drawn into Guillermo Rigondeaux's fight. But you're not a great fighter if you can't adapt. And I freely call this guy a great fighter. And even Rigondeaux, he's a great fighter too. But like I thought he would be, he was out of his element. You know, when you're looking at the history of boxing, the boxers or the fighters that go up 2 weight classes at one time, historically, I'm not saying every time, but majority of the time, they got sorted out real quick and got their ass sat right back down. It's very rare where you see world-class fighters able to pull off that type of feat in a victorious effort, especially when you're going up in weight and you're fighting somebody. So the fact that Lomachenko win was not surprising to me in the least bit. The way he did it was quite surprising. But when you really think about it, I mean, when you make saturated, world-class, sturdy, and durable 130-pound fighters quit, how surprising can it be when you make a blown-up 22-pounder quit? You know what I'm saying? So it really is not surprising. The only surprising effect is that the fact that it was Rigondeaux who did it. You know what I'm saying? But if you can make a durable 130-pound champion quit, you can make a blown-up 122-pounder quit. And that's just keeping it all the way funky. And it should not take away from his victory whatsoever. Lomachenko went in there and he did his fucking job, man. He did his job. And that's why I'm not going to take no credit away from him. He's not a promoter. He's not a matchmaker. He's not a manager. He's not an advisor. When the opponent signs his name on the contract and he signs his name on the contract, that's all the business that gets done by the fighter. At the end of the day, they got one job to do, and that's to train and fight. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. He did his job. credit due where it's supposed to be due. So let's talk about the fight. You got people saying it was a big separation in class, separation in skills. I didn't see it. I didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't see that. You can say it was a separation in skill if all things were even coming into the fight, and all things were not even. There were several uh intangibles. Matter of fact, all the advantages went to Lomachenko, as I astutely point that shit out prior to the fight. Younger, bigger, stronger. He been at that weight. You know what I'm saying? I forgot all the shit that I pointed out, but at the end of the day, all the advantages went to Lomachenko. And you have people saying that Rigondeaux, the power edge goes to Rigondeaux. How do you make that assumption when you got a 122 pounder that's never fought at 30? How do you in your mind say, oh, well, he get the edge on power? He ain't knocked out a 130 pounder in his whole fucking career. So how the fuck the power edge go to fucking Rigondeaux? What 130-pound fighter did he put down? If we going by what sparring partners say a whole bunch of shit. And yeah, it does have merit. I give it credit when it's due credit. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have this history of just stopping and dropping big guys, you know what I'm saying, all the time, I just can't award you with the attributes of saying you get the edge and power 2 weight classes above your natural weight. To me, that was just insane. So anyway, when the fight started, when the bell rang, first thing I said, you can go on Twitter, is Rigo looks slow as hell. And that's when the opening bell started. He looked like a guy who had excess weight on him, trying to fight a guy who was in tip-top shape. You know what I'm saying? Who had little to no water weight, who was ready for a routine title defense, which he was accustomed to doing at that weight. As he was accustomed to performing at that weight. Lomachenko looked like Lomachenko. Rigondeaux looked like a guy who had excess weight on him, and as a result, he could not move. He looked lethargic. He looked slow. He couldn't pivot. He couldn't move. And the reason why you can definitively say that is if you ever seen Rigondeaux fight, he's able to dip in, dip out, and move as he saw fit. And if his hand speed is not there, it's a reason why his hand speed is no longer there. His hand speed is not there is because he got all this excess weight on him. So let me give you an example. Let's say you just ate at a buffet and you full as a tick now. You know what I'm saying? You fat full in that bitch. Now, you go out and you try to have a race with somebody and sprint with them, and they are not full. You know what I'm saying? And normally they be just as fast as you. Do you think you finna win? Hell no. You're going to feel all that goddamn excess weight. You're going to feel full. You're going to feel thick. You're not going to feel at your best. You know what I'm saying? Rigondeaux was not accustomed to fighting at that weight. He was not even accustomed to fighting at a weight directly below it. And he went up 2 weight divisions and fought the best. And guess what happened? He got his ass sat right back down. Just like many times and many fighters before him. Even this year, I believe. I think that happened this year. It may have been last year when Kell Brook went up. Yeah, I think so. When Kell Brook went up in weight and got his ass sat back down. Even that was a much better outing in terms of the smaller guy really trying to go for it. But at the end of the day, I don't take no credit away from Lomachenko, but I'm not about to blow this fucking victory up like it was the best thing I ever fucking seen in the world. Miss me with the promotional tactics. You can't lure me into no bullshit like that. I've been around a long time. The shit Bob Arum say, I don't take fucking, I take with a grain of salt. He's full of shit, but he's a promoter. That's what he's supposed to do. And a promoter has to be a good liar too. So you already know Bob Arum was a lawyer, so you already know he knows how to fucking lie. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he's a promoter. He's supposed to promote. And that's what he's doing. And he's doing it with a guy who is deserving of it. So I'm not going to take no credit away from Lomachenko because you can't. He did what he was supposed to do. Was he really supposed to go in there and just lay down so his opponent can have the victory? No, he wasn't supposed to do that. It was Rigondeaux that was supposed to show up. And the only thing he showed up for was that check. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, props to Lomenchenko. He looked like himself. He had all his speed, his foot speed was there, his fluidity and moving around the ring was there. He had pop on his punches, you know what I'm saying? And he was basically doing what he wanted to do. He, you know, first round fill out, he was sizing up his opponent, seeing how his opponent could move, how his opponent wanted to fight. He decoded the strategy and went to work. And that, you know, that's what great fighters do. They figure out what you want to do and just deny you that, you know, and that's what he did. But Rigondeaux did not look like Rigondeaux. He looked like a guy who was out of his element. He was a guy out of his weight. And to put credence, because I'm sure there's a lot of haters out there, they'd be like, oh, you just don't want to give Lomenchenko his credit. I gave him his credit. What the fuck you mean? I gave him his credit before the fight even started. I picked him to win. How the fuck is that not giving him credit? You know what I'm saying? But to give credence on what I'm saying, all you got to do is listen to the fighter. After the fight, in all his interviews, whether it was an interview or at the post-press conference, Lomenchenko out of his own mouth says, Rigondeaux, look, Rigondeaux is a great fighter, but he is a king at his own weight. If you watch any of my videos in the past, I've consistently tried to tell you guys that the fighters know if there's somebody standing across the ring from them that does not belong in the ring, they know. They fighters know, and they're going to do what they're supposed to do and get that guy the fuck up out of there. It don't matter what the opponent's name is. It's boxing. It's boxing. And if you have an artificial junior lightweight in the ring with you and you're a saturated junior lightweight that's been there, what's going to happen? You're going to beat that ass. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's what he did. And it's almost like he's trying to teach the media boxing when they trying to throw all the accolades. He don't even want the shit. He don't even want the accolades. This guy, that's why I like Lomenchenko. He is a real fucking fighter. He don't even want your fucking accolades. He want to earn that shit. He want to earn it, man. He don't want the hand-me-down victory. Like, look, yo, I beat this guy, but it was nothing to me because he's not a junior lightweight. It's the same thing Triple G said when he beat Kell Brook. If you look at listen to the interviews, it's like he's trying to teach the media. I know you on my deck right now. This is what he's saying. But look, the guy hit me. I didn't feel it. That's when I knew, hey, man, this guy's not a middleweight. He don't belong in the ring with me. So he said, I'm going to just take my time and get him out of there. The fight, they trying to teach boxing to the media, and the media want to just overwhelm them with accolades. And just like Lomenchenko last night, he don't want it. He want to show his skills against somebody who belongs on the other side of the ring with him. He don't want no artificial victory. He don't want hand-me-down accolades. He don't want to get credit for shit that he was supposed to do. That's why that's the first thing that came out of his mouth. This guy don't belong at this weight. I don't give a fuck what his name is. He is a king. He is a great fighter, but he don't belong here. You feel me? So all these media members and insane fans, dick riding fans, learn, man. Learn the sport. Even your own fighter is telling you the merit that he should get based off of this victory. Now, yes, he should get credit because he won. They went to training camp. Yo, they fought. But at the end of the day, he was not in there with somebody who was a junior lightweight. I don't give a damn what his name is. You're going to respect this sport of boxing, man. This sport is not dictated based on who's taller than each other. I just saw the other day on YouTube, they got a 6-foot-tall bantamweight. But if he can make the weight, that motherfucker is a bantamweight. You know what I'm saying? Divisions are separated by weight. And Rigondeaux is not accustomed to fighting at that way. It's not like this is walk around weight. You know what I'm saying? Or this is the weight that he used when he want to go skating or whatever. He has to perform for 12 rounds and compete in a combative sport with this weight with somebody who is substantially bigger than him. And most people say it doesn't matter because Rigondeaux doesn't fight with a swarming style. It does not matter. You're fighting a substantially bigger guy. not only is it harder to hurt this guy, the guy punches substantially harder and his blows are much heavier. And you're going to feel him and his size. Too many fighters have pointed that shit out. Too many. It's just y'all choose to listen what you want to listen to. You really have no desire to learn the sport. You just want a dick ride. But at the end of the day, dick ride if you must. He did win, and he did it in spectacular fashion. And props to him. And I hope he gets the big name that he wants to face. Whether he ends up in there with Mikey. I think Mikey may be a little bit too big. Mikey just fought it with 40. And, he's not a small guy either. I'm not even sure Mikey can even make 35 anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just like what Lomenchenko said in the video at the press conference. They talking about him going up in weight and fighting. I forget who they talking about. He's like, you know what? Me going up there to fight those guys, I'm going to feel just like Rigondeaux felt last night in here with me. I'm going to be dwarfed. So I'm like, again, that's why I can't hate the guy, because it's like he's trying to teach. My media members has been around the sport for years. You would have thought they learned this shit by now. It's almost like he's trying to teach them all over again, So, like I said, man, I had a lot of respect for him by not just how he performs and how he fights, but what comes out of his fucking mouth, man. And that's why I just can't take no credit away from the guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a real fighter, and kudos to him. But at the end of the day, Rigondeaux is a guy we should be upset with. I mean, at the end of the day, I knew the cards were stacked against him. But if you let him tell it, he was finna go in there and do all type of shit, and to which he did none of it. And I'm not sure how much merit there is in the hand injury. You got people saying, how did he injure his hand if he never hit him? Well, he did hit him. It just didn't have nothing on it. I mean, he didn't hit him often. He may have hit him in the head. He may have hit him in the elbow. But, I've said countless times before, only the fighters know what's going on with the body. So we can easily look at the TV and be like, oh, what injury? But if you're not in that ring, you cannot question what injury he may have sustained in the fight. You're not in there. You don't know the punches, how he felt about the punches being landed on him, or how it felt when he was hitting his opponent, whether it was a flush shot or a shot, that was blocked by the forearms or the elbows or the head or whatever of Lomenchenko. So I'm not going to dismiss it, but at the end of the day, this is the fight game. Injuries are part of the game, and you must fight on. The show must continue, man. That's boxing. The show must go on, because there are too many fighters that have had injuries, and I'm talking about crazy injuries, and they fought on. Arthur Abraham had his jaw broke against Edison Miranda, and he fought on to the end. Antonio Tarver had his jaw broke in that first fight with Eric Hardin, and he fought to the end, and he lost that fight. But he would know what to do when the rematch came back around, as he would knock that guy out. That was actually one of his great fights. He started yelling at the ref, like, what are you trying to do? You trying to get him killed? That was a loud fight by Tarver. Jesus Chavez, he had a torn rotator cuff in the second round against Eric Morales. He fought to the end and gave Morales one of his toughest fights with one arm. You know what I'm saying? There have been many examples. Ali, he didn't have his jaw broke and fought on. So having injuries is just part of the game. You must continue. The fight must go on. The fighter, under all circumstances, must leave it to the ref or the doctor. You know what I'm saying? Or, to his corner to call it quits for him and not him himself. That's just trying to find a way out. He knew what he was in there with. That thunder was on him. And he didn't want no part. He didn't want no more of that. He didn't want no more of that work. He caught that fade, and he didn't want to sustain that shit for the rest of that fight, because he knew what was going to happen. And that's just my honest assessment. He knew that as the fight wore on, and him being so lethargic, he was only going to get more and more tired packing that excess weight. And Lomenchenko was going to keep getting faster and faster and start coming on a whole lot more, like he always does. Because if you in there and you show a weakness with that boy, if you in that ring with Loma and you show a weakness with that boy, you about to get your ass beat. So, he found the way out. And that's just the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? It's just the bottom line. So I can't take no credit away from Loma. Like I said before, he did what he was supposed to do. And like I said, it was only going to get worse. At the end of the day, it's not like Rigondeaux sustained a terrible beating, but he definitely was getting outclassed in there. Now, when you let the media members tell him, oh, he beat the shit out of him, like when? He outmaneuvered him, he outpunched him, he was whooping his ass, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, all right, man, don't take the overrating to 10. You know what I'm saying? Come off the gas a little bit. Get off the gas. You feel me? Because I'm like, the way you talking, surely Rigondeaux must have had a swollen up face. No, I didn't see that. Well, Rigondeaux must have had, like, he must have been bleeding from his nose and his mouth and so forth. No, not exactly. Well, surely Rigondeaux must have hit the canvas once or twice, right? No, that didn't happen. All right, so come off the gas a little bit. You know what I'm saying? God damn. Now y'all talking about this. He's the greatest thing you ever seen, and we never seen skills like him. That's the bullshit I fucking hate about the sport, man. God damn, he's not the greatest I've ever seen. You mean to tell me out of all the boxing eras, 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and so forth and so forth, you mean to tell me that this little guy is the best you ever seen? Out of all the Hall of Fame fighters and throwback and all-time greats, Lomenchenko is the best you ever seen. The guy that lost to Salido. This guy's the best you ever seen? I'm a add on to that. He got the best skills I ever seen. He got the best skills you ever seen. You must be new to boxing. I would like somebody to elaborate just what the fuck he does that we've never seen before. Because all the shit he doing, I've seen before. I've never seen a white guy do it. I never seen a white fighter fight like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to take away from the great white fighters that have been in the sport. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I've never seen a white fighter fight like Lomenchenko. Now, if that's your assessment, then yeah, you're right. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't fight like most of the white fighters that we've seen in our time. The only closest you ever had to something like that, to what he's doing, in terms of speed and being a good mover in the ring, being able to move and stuff like that. You got Malignaggi, but Malignaggi couldn't crack an egg. Lomachenko got some pop. He could put a guy down and out with a 2-punch combination in a major fight against a world champion. Paulo Malignaggi couldn't do that shit. Yeah, Willie Pep, you know what I'm saying? So there are some good white fighters that fought similar, but nobody had all the different skill sets. The white fighters had all the different skill sets that Lomachenko had. Now, if that's your assessment, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? But he's not better than fucking Muhammad Ali. Get off the gas with that shit, please, man. And I've seen guys fight like Rigondeaux. Oh, not Rigondeaux, but Lomachenko. I've seen guys with fast feet, fast hands, hitting guys with 8-punch combinations and stuff. I mean, did we not see the era of Roy Jones Jr.? I mean, did we miss Roy Jones in his prime? I mean, literally, I could go on and on and on. Great southpaw fight. Did we not see Pernell Whitaker outclass, outmaneuver? You know what I'm saying? Razzle and dazzle. But when he did it, he got ridiculed for that shit. You know what I'm saying? So don't miss me with the fucking bullshit, man. God damn. Lomachenko just showed you he don't want y'all giving him accolades. He want to earn it. Let that man earn that shit, man. Legitimately let this guy have his fucking career and get the accolades that he's supposed to get on his own, man, because that's what he wants. They don't want you giving him shit. If that wasn't the case, he wouldn't have said what he said last night. This win is no big deal. It may be a big deal to those who love boxing, but it's no big deal to me. Why? Because this guy did not belong in the ring with me this night at this weight. He's a king in his own weight category. And that's the biggest thing y'all need. Y'all need to listen to the fighters, man. They know. Okay? Fuck the media. All they do is hop on and off dick. You would think they were prostitutes. You know? So now that I've vented, let me slide over here to the comments and see who Who with me today? Okay, fight critic in this thing was good. Blood in this thing, the partner, OG, been around a long time. King Junior A. Sorry if I said that name right. Wrong. Glad you checking in with your boy. Cameron Khan said, I'm here to vent. I feel you, bro. I feel you, man. Because you know, a lot of people, man, it ain't that they were like dick riding Rigondeaux. They weren't, man. But he's a great fighter, and he's been dealt a raw hand in his professional career. He's been dealt a raw hand. And at the end of the day, we wanted this to be a high point for him based on the fact that he's been given that dick as a professional fighter. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, they with their heart, they wanted Rigondeaux to win. I must admit, based on those circumstances, I would like to have seen him get the W too. You know, but at the end of the day, man, I love boxing too much to I don't know, I just love the sport too much to be really tripping off of it like that. You know what I'm saying? He lost. You know, he went in there, he got his ass sat back down. That was the end of that thing. So, but like I said, props to Rigondeaux. Hope he fights all the other champions at the weight. I think I feel Tank Davis will get that work, but he a champion now, and as a champion, part of being a champion is to defend. So all that I'm not ready or anything like that, you're gonna water down your brand if you don't fight Lomenchenko, or at least make an attempt. Or, you know, Lomenchenko could go up in weight and try to win a title at another division. Many fighters have, in a very small amount of time, go several divisions in weight. Hell, Rigondeaux just jumped 2 weight classes. Let's see what Lomenchenko can do. Y'all just said he's the fucking greatest fighter to ever live. So let's see him jump a couple of weight divisions and fight substantially bigger guys and see how he fares. You know what I'm saying? So that's the end of that, man. I'm not going to go on and on about this shit. But I just wanted to touch bases on it. It was a good win. You know, he did, like I said, he did what he was supposed to do, man. But he's about to be the greatest thing to ever fucking live. You mark my words. He's about to be pound for pound #1. You know, they have no problem moving guys out the top spot for a guy who didn't even fucking win. So you already know a guy who wins, who they're very high on, they have no problem just sliding him right up in that thing. And he probably does belong on the pound for pound list. You know what I'm saying? But if his feat wasn't as good as Terrence Crawford's undisputed title win efforts against a guy at his weight who had 2 world titles, come on, man. How the fuck you go get in the top spot by making a guy jump 2? Well, not making him, but fighting a guy who jumped up 2 weight classes. You know what I'm saying? Never fought in that division. And you did what you were supposed to do, and you beat him, and now that feat was the greatest you ever. I mean, thank you. Oh, they just irked the fuck out of me with all that dick riding. Oh, well, anyway, man, let's move on to Chris Diaz. Chris Diaz, the undefeated Puerto Rican fighter, had a good outing on the card. He displays a lot of promise, fast hands, decent power. Punching in combination, good jab. And now he's calling out fighters. He's saying he won a world title shot. He says he's ready for anybody. I believe he fights at the same weight as Lomenchenko, if I'm not mistaken. If he not, he fight at featherweight. He may fight at featherweight. I think he fights at 26. Well, anyway, you know, old Ashy Knuckles, you know, you got to prove shit to me. And I didn't see what most people are seeing with Chris Diaz. I mean, honestly, you cannot watch his fights and not see the fast hands. That's coming on display and very fast. You ain't got to tell him to let his hands go, which is a great thing for a fighter. I could see the power. He was putting this guy down, hurting him with shots, going to the body, okay, you know, pretty good. But he does have some holes in his game, and he's going to have to fix this shit if he think he's going to contend for a title. One thing that I saw about him is that he has a tendency to drop his hands. And you know what? It's just not fundamental. You know what I'm saying? A lot of fighters see fighters before them do it and get away with it and think you can pull it off. You're going to get clipped, okay? Stick to your fundamentals. Keep your fucking hands up, man. great shots and flashy combinations, hurt a guy and stuff by being fundamentally sound, man. Why risk getting hit? Because he was getting hit with return fire. You know what I'm saying? And if you just stick to your fundamentals and keep your hands high, that return fire could have been parried, it could have been blocked. You could have, you actually could have ducked the fucking punch. But he was getting hit by it. Against a guy who was a much bigger puncher, he gonna face some harsh repercussions by dropping his hands at times. He don't move his head at all. I mean, he fought a stiff fight. He was very stiff. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn. You got to move your head, partner. You can't just be standing still and giving your opponent a target. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep the target moving at all times, even if you don't move your feet. That comes with upper body movement. That comes with head movement, moving your head. When nobody's throwing a punch, you're still moving your head. Trying to look cool, you're doing it because you're constantly moving the target. That's what you're supposed to do. That's boxing on this Western hemisphere. That's how we fight over here. We make it much difficult for the opponent to find a target. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to be somebody, you're going to have to learn how to move that fucking head. All right? Another thing he does pretty bad is he stays in the pocket too much after throwing your combinations. Throw your combinations and pivot out that thing, man. Don't stand in there and admire your work because you asking to get clipped. Somebody is not going to feel all three of those combos or all two of those combos, and they're going to come back with something nasty, and you ain't going to like it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, if you got the opponent in line for a combo and you get that combination off, pivot out that thing. Don't admire your work. Everybody you hit ain't going down. Everybody you hit, you ain't knocking out. You know what I'm saying? You got to continue to work. And don't give them a target. If you just stand there, you're making it very easy for them to load up on something big. And when it catch you, you're going to know you should have been getting up out of that pocket. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're going to stay in a pocket, at least be in a predicament where you can protect yourself very well from return fire. And he wide open. His game is Swiss cheese. And another thing, he can try tucking that chin in, man. He had a chin open. I mean, wide. I mean, not wide. He had that chin a little higher than you should have it as a professional fighter. You need to tuck that chin. You only asking to get your fucking jaw broke. So Chris Diaz got a lot to work on, but he has a lot to build on. I hope he does what he's supposed to do, man. A guy that has those attributes with the fast hands and the decent punching power and good timing. Let me add that on there. He got good timing. He's one of the guys who can punch a guy while the guy is in his own combination. Punch a guy through his own combination. That's timing. So a guy is trying to hit you with a combination. He's throwing, and you hit him right in the middle of that motherfucker. That's timing. Because it takes extreme skill to do that without getting hit. You got to bring ass to get ass. You know what I'm saying? And Chris Diaz was able to do that with a big shot, too. So props to him, man. He's doing great things. I know about the tragedy in Puerto Rico. It's unfortunate and stuff like that. So he got a lot of stuff he's fighting for. Stay in the drum board, stay in the gym, stay sparring good fighters. Great things that happen for him. So we'll see what happens. Shakur Stevenson. This will be my last. I'm talking about my last thing I say before I shut this thing down and get ready for football. Great outing for the youngster. You know what I'm saying? He was in there with an outclassed opponent. The guy was in awe of Shakur Stevenson. I mean, when the bell rang, he looked like he was ready to get down. But when Shakur started getting off on him, he had other plans. And Shakur looked good. He jabbed when he wanted. He hit. He threw punches for points when he wanted. He threw punches for power when he wanted. He threw great punches to the body in combination. You know what I'm saying? In combination. A true professional knows how to go up and down, head shots and body shots as a part of his repertoire. You usually don't see that from a fighter who has less than 10 fights. I think the time spent in Lomenchenko's training camp this time really helped out tremendously because Lomenchenko probably was touching him. And now everybody's asking how he did, how did Shakur Stevenson do in training camp? Do you really think Lomachenko was in there trying to beat his fucking ass? You think Lomachenko don't know that Stevenson don't belong in the ring with him right now? So he just working. He just trying new stuff. You know what I'm saying? He needed Shakur Stevenson. He needed a young guy, a young southpaw fighters who can probably present some of the things that another southpaw would do on fight night. That's why he was there. You know what I'm saying? The fighters know if a guy's standing across the ring from them that don't belong. It reminded me back when I was in Savannah Gym years ago, and Jamal Charlo was sparring Shane Mosley Jr. You know what I'm saying? And Jamal didn't just go in there and squash him like a fucking roach like he would normally do. You know what I'm saying? He was just in there working. You know what I'm saying? Shane Mosley was right there ringside watching. Jay Prince was over there. They was all watching. They wouldn't let me film it. You know what I'm saying? But I took pictures of it. You know what I'm saying? But he know that Mosley Jr. is not supposed to be in the ring with him. So he didn't go out there and just beat the brakes off of him. He was just in there working. So it's the same thing, man. Same fucking thing. But you could tell it did wonders for Shakur because he went out there, he looked impressive, beat the brakes off the guy. I think the guy probably could have continued fighting, but he looked like he really didn't want to be in there, no way. So he got a mercy stoppage by the chick who was officiating the fight. A great development for a young fighter, man. I think Shakur Stevens is going to do great things. He talking right. He talking like a fighter. Got a lot to work on still, but he didn't expose too much of himself. And the stuff he did expose in terms of his flaws are so minor that once his people watch the tape, I'm sure it would be corrected. It's not like he in there trying to fight like Roy Jones. So kudos to him. You know, next step up for him. They'll keep putting in much tougher and tougher fighters, and we'll see what happens with him in his young career, man. But that's all I got for you. I wasn't gonna draw this damn thing out over an hour. I just want to get my thoughts out there, and y'all thumb this motherfucker up, man. And I'm gonna look out for y'all streams, man. I'm gonna go have breakfast and kick it with the family for a minute before football start, and I'm gonna get at y'all. It's your boy Ash. Holla.